Hello, this is Abby.
Dear Abby, this is gonna be a long one.
Oh boy.
Dear Abby, how do you tell the difference between a new exciting crush and a rebound?
Does it matter?
Dear Abby,
Dear Abby,
dear Abby.
Welcome to our little corner of the internet. This is the Dear Abby podcast. I hope you stay and hang out with us. See you in a sec. Hello, welcome back to another episode of Dear Abby. I am your host. My name is Abby. Welcome back today. Thank you for choosing to listen to my podcast. I hope you enjoy this episode. Today we are talking about going easier on yourself, and this is in the context of being a perfectionist, or not like everyone's a diagnosed perfectionist, but a lot of us can be really hard on ourselves and quit things before we even start because we're not doing it perfectly. And there's this really frustrating experience that you might have and this sad feeling of not belonging, not being good enough, and we can be really hard on ourselves. So that's the main topic of today's episode. I just want to dive deep on the feeling of just not being good enough. And along the same lines, I wanted to kind of dive deep the longing that we have to feel understood, to feel okay exactly as we exist right now, and just find a place of belonging and a place within ourselves or externally too, where we're just okay and loved as we are now, and that's enough for somebody. There's a lot of different places and experiences, past things that might stem from, like that belief that you're not enough, or that you're not doing everything perfectly, so you're not enough. Whatever the reason is that you have maybe a perfectionistic mindset, or that you're like, why can't I perform at 100% of the time? There's a lot of different reasons why we probably developed that, but I wanted to talk about that today. And I really just wanted it to be a reminder, as I do with a lot of my episodes, to really experience those feelings. If you do feel a sadness or a longing for acceptance, explore those feelings, those sad feelings, and not to dwell, but to sit with them, because those feelings matter, and it can help you get to a new place mentally and emotionally, and to not ignore those or to treat it as bad feelings. And I'm being dramatic, or treating, maybe harder feelings as negative or bad or any of those things. When we feel a wave of emotion, that's not the time to like intellectualize them. That's a time to let them come up and feel them, experience them, because they can teach us stuff. And sometimes the thoughts that go with the feelings start to change and shift as we sit with ourselves and as we sit with those feelings. So anyways, don't want to go too deep at the beginning, but that's basically what I wanted to talk about today, and just hopefully can remind all of us, because I needed this too, that it's all going to be okay. You're going to be okay, and there's hope and all that good stuff. So, but before we do that, I'm going to go into Dubs and L's. We're going to go in the details, and we don't have actually a Dear Abby, so send in more Dear Abby submissions if you have them. They can just be emails, they can just be texts, or you can call, leave the voicemail. Let me double check to make sure I actually don't. So yeah, if you guys have a question or need advice or just need somewhere to vent, to something to talk to, send it my way, and we'll bring it up on the podcast and talk about it. Instead of a Dear Abby, because I don't have one of those, I wanted to talk about just some specific to OCD symptoms of perfectionism that I experienced, and that can be really frustrating, and some things that I did to try and manage it. Anyways, that's what we're going to do for Dear Abby instead. So look forward to that at the end for some OCD specific talk. But my dub for this week is, in my work environment, sometimes things get very stressful and people are asking you for a million things and everything is a priority, and people throw others under the bus like crazy. And it just can be a really hard experience in like the corporate world. Socially, it's like there's a lot of like social politics. And anyways, long story short, I've really been working on, if I feel overwhelmed and frustrated, to take a moment and actually be able to decompress, feel frustrated and feel that feeling, and then purposefully let it go, let all of that stress and tension mentally just release, like to be able to not put so much pressure on myself. Speaking of perfectionism, that when I make a mistake, I don't take it as the end of the world anymore. It doesn't feel good still, but I try to just be chill about it. We all make mistakes. I don't know how many people listening have been in that environment, but I feel like most people have, at least in some shape or form, have been in an environment like that. That's kind of just, that's not lovely. But some people thrive in it. It's just, I think my personality, I definitely don't thrive in it, but I'm working on being able to let it go very quickly in the moment, be able to let things come to the surface, feel frustrated, let all those thoughts of but this, but that, and all of these things just like race around in my head, but then consciously being able to just release it and let it go. Like it's not my problem to solve, which is a good dub, because I since we're speaking on perfectionism and how that can just take the joy, like steal the joy out of things and steal the flow state out of something you're doing. It can just steal the joy out of things and the sweetness of stuff. So it's just one area of my life that I have really been trying to enjoy at least a little bit more, or learn how to cope a lot better. An L is I have felt so socially awkward, and it pains me. It pains me. It's painful. Where I talk and my face gets red, or someone asks me something and then I start talking about something completely different because I don't know what to say. Sometimes I am in a conversation and I nail it. I'm totally normal, totally cool. Sometimes if I'm not in a social mood, it's so hard for me to click into that. So I'm just so awkward. I feel so awkward. I just feel so incapable of normal conversations sometimes. And it's a real insecurity of mine that I have, like the fact that I have to work on social interactions it's a painful thing for me. Deep down, it's a painful thing. Other times I'm great at it, but I have to be nicer to myself about that. That's one of the things that sparked what we're talking about today, in regards to feeling like you don't belong, or wanting to feel accepted, or just like wanting to be okay with who you are and how you are. And you can still want to progress and get better at stuff. But the core of how you feel about yourself is that it's okay and that you're still capable of being loved as you are now. Let's jump into the meat of today's episode. It's kind of mixed in with going into the details. We're kind of going to combine the two today. As I mentioned with my L, in my social situations and interactions lately have been subpar. It just has sparked a lot of feelings of being inept and being incapable and being less than ideal in a social situation. Like I see people who are really good at talking to people, joking around, super relaxed, chill about it. And I think it's awesome, and I think it's amazing, and I want to be more like that. And sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. But this internal battle that I was having just reminded me of how much I needed to I think just be okay with the fact that I am not the best socially right now. And sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. But also to sit with the feelings that keep coming up when I am in social situations. Like the feeling of I want to connect, but it's really hard for me to. I think based on my past, it's just hard to open up. It's hard to really trust and believe that you can be close to someone and that doesn't end in something really bad. But also, even if it did end in something bad, it's better, I think, to open up and to at least try to have these type of, deep and long lasting connections. And people can give advice on what you should do all day, but until you kind of sit with those feelings and try to understand and learn why and how and what you are experiencing and why you feel a certain way, I don't think it can change that much, because sometimes socially, I feel like instead of performing, it's better to just be honest. But in regards to feeling less than others, feeling not good enough, sometimes it can feel like there's this place that we need to get, and then we'll be able to love ourselves, and then we'll be able to accept our flaws, accept ourselves. Usually it's not like I can't wait to accept my flaws. It's going to be like I can't wait till my flaws are all gone and I don't have any more of them and I act perfectly all the time. That day never comes, and so we never give that love to ourselves or seek love in the places that we believe we can find it. One place that I think, if you believe in God, like that you can find it, is obviously in a relationship with God. That can be really sound like a really big thing and scary and intimidating. What even is that? What does that look like? How do you know? It's really just talking to something and hoping that they're there, but also deep down choosing to believe that someone's listening to you, like a God, that God is listening to you, that they're present. He, above anyone else, loves you and understands you exactly as you are now. There's no like blanket or there's no covering you need to put on to hide from him, is what I believe. Like it feels really freeing to open yourself up and be like, here I am. I've never felt more accepted, like spiritually and emotionally, by anybody else more than I have been accepted and loved by God. But that's all I'm going to share on that. It's just hard. I just would feel dishonest if I talked about how to kind of sit with these feelings and how to feel better and how to feel love for yourself again. Because for me, that was a big part of my of getting back to that place of the simple feeling of love for myself and for everyone else. But that was a huge part for me, was I kind of had to face all of my things that made me kind of run away from God or my faith. It was really healing to do all of that, even though it was kind of scary and painful at first. It helped like wash and melt things away that I had previously believed and was scared of and stuff like that. I would have felt kind of dishonest if I didn't mention that, because that was a big role for me. Could be different for everybody. So you can let that go in one ear and out the other. And I don't know a lot, but I do know what has helped and what hasn't. So to kind of go back a couple of steps, we can maybe feel not enough. We can maybe feel like no matter what we do, we're never getting to this ideal person, or never getting to this ideal version of ourselves, and you feel devastated by it and sad. You want to give up. And you don't understand what the point is, or, whatever those thoughts are that are becoming more and more heavy, keeping you down. And also feeling like you don't belong or you're not accepted is really, I think, just primally is very scary and sad and can make you really anxious. Everybody wants to belong. We have human needs, and one of those is that we're loved. I think fundamentally, just in general, somebody loves us, and that also that we are capable of love and loving others too. And one thing I think that feeds this cycle of not feeling good enough is being a perfectionist. We tell ourselves, or we let other people or other things tell us, that we need to perform a certain way in order to be successful, in order to have worth, in order to be valuable to others and to yourself and to the world. That can come from kind of like a grinding mentality, but and especially when it's gone past the point of working hard and doing your best, to perfectionism and never missing, never doing anything wrong, never forgetting this, never making a mistake, it can feel very defeating. And then we end up not even trying because we're not at this ideal level or this perfect, because we're not perfect. We may feel as though we don't deserve to try because we're not perfect. We may feel as though it's not for us because we're not perfect. We may feel as though we can't handle it because we're not perfect, or we're not enough because we're not perfect. And that is just a straight up lie. Like there's no rule to life that says you have to be immediately good at acting if you want to be an actor, or that it takes 5 years, and if you haven't hit it at 5 years, you're never going to hit it. Or if you're writing a book and you started when you're in your 30s, or maybe people have said no 20 times. There's no rule to say when you have to stop something because it's not for you. That is your choice. If you want to write a book, you can choose to write a book. And there's nothing written in the stars that'll say that you can't do that if that is what you want to do. Like you have the power to do what you want. You have the power to act how you want. You have the power to choose what type of life you want to live. With perfectionism, you kind of lose the ability to learn from mistakes. This is a common thing with OCD, which is kind of like the Dear Abby thing I want to talk about. But OCD and perfectionism, you lose that ability to learn from mistakes. And because instead, when we make mistakes, I did this and I still do this. I like turn it into this whole rumination cycle where I make a mistake. And it's like, oh, that's because you are doomed to be miserable and you're doomed to always fail at everything you try. And then it's like your brain finds all this evidence as to why you suck, basically, and just sends it to you. And then you start ruminating about, well, not all the time. And then you're arguing with your brain. And then it's like this big old loop. Instead, I think, and a good exposure is doing stuff that you suck at, that you're not good at, and making mistakes and sitting with that uncomfortable feeling of I'm not good at this right now. But then doing it anyways and trying again and doing it again and not clicking into that rumination cycle, not clicking into that narrative, because you develop a lot of different narratives internally that you then think is like the story of your life. But when you unravel that and you kind of pull it back, it's usually probably something from the past, but it doesn't necessarily dictate your future. But also sometimes OCD can be that mental loop of trying to figure out if it is your past or your future. What does that mean? And sometimes it is good to just not click into that rumination and just be like, I don't know, but I'm going to keep doing this in front of me. I don't know what all that noise is right now, but I'm just going to keep doing what's in front of me, and I'm going to keep drawing. And then, or I'm going to keep writing, or I'm going to keep coding, whatever you do, whatever you are doing. It's hard. It's hard to learn from mistakes. It's not something that's really easy to do because it doesn't feel good to make mistakes. But when we take the time to learn about ourselves, what I've observed is it allows you to feel the feelings that come up without making it a bigger narrative. And instead, you might feel uncomfortable and frustrated or sad or overwhelmed. But then eventually that subsides, and then you have more of a clear mindset going into something, and you feel more integrated in your life. You feel more integrated with yourself, with your emotions, and it's not something that impedes. It's something that actually adds depth to your life, because I think that's the point of emotions and feelings, is it's supposed to add depth. And when you suppress or ignore or intellectualize, I think it complicates things. It kind of puts a hold on a flow, but when you're able to flow with it and learn about yourself, I do feel like you become a lot more capable of learning from mistakes, especially, and just accepting them as a part of this life, as a part of your experience, as a part of being alive, and that it's not by mistake that you make mistakes. It's a comforting fact to think about that it's not a mistake that we make mistakes. I believe there's something to be learned in the process of making mistakes. And there's a reason. And you're not immediately rejected by everybody or your creator or the universe because you make mistakes and you're not perfect. And so here is my reminder to myself and to everybody else to alleviate and take off some of the burdens that you're putting on your shoulders, and to trust that you are loved as you are. I just hate when my OCD or when my perfectionism starts to get in my way, because it's a pain and it makes me quit things that I don't want to quit. I like this past week I had to reset mentally, especially after I recorded my last podcast. I was like, I have to hold myself accountable to just doing it anyways, even if I feel frustrated and I'm not good yet and it's taking me a long time to learn with sketching and drawing, but just doing it anyways and remembering why I started in the first place. And it's to eventually be able to create things that are in my mind that I want to be able to express. And it's not about making money or being perfect or being successful. It was literally just about that I loved doing it. And it was really helpful for me. And I really enjoyed the process of it. So the past couple of days I've been sketching and reminding myself when those perfectionistic thoughts come up of you're not doing it right and you should be better already and other people probably would were way faster and you're not meant to do this. Like all of these OCD obsessions, especially when it comes to career and what I'm supposed to be doing. Sometimes that can be a really big factor into why I'm always in my head. So while I was sketching, I had to let those thoughts be there, accept that maybe I'm choosing to spend my time the wrong way and I'm going to regret this and whatever it was, whatever the fear was that I had to face and be like, I don't know the answer to this. But after I did eventually fall into more of a flow state and I remembered why I like sketching and why I'm doing any of the things that I do and the podcast and every other thing that, you know, I like to do. Like I remember why I do it. And when you take the pressure off of being perfect, it makes it so much more enjoyable. That's going to be all for today's episode of Dear Abby. I don't know if it might be a shorter one. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Dear Abby. If you want to support the podcast, you can leave a rating and a review on Apple and Spotify podcast, as well as like, subscribe, comment on YouTube. I really appreciate any of the support that you guys give. If you want to also a way to support is to share the podcast by word of mouth. If you think someone would enjoy this podcast, to post about it, to share just as much as you can. And also, as I said earlier, I do need more Dear Abby submissions. So if you have questions or anything about anything, send it in as a Dear Abby and I will answer it on next week's episode, on the next episode, or the next. If I didn't answer one that you already submitted, just resubmit it and it'll go to the top of my queue again and I will see it and I will answer it ASAP. But cool. Okay. Well, thank you guys for listening. I hope you have a wonderful, beautiful weekend. Happy 4th. I hope you had a good 4th of July. Be kind to yourself. Have a good weekend. Love you guys. Bye. 우회전 taking a ride to journey. 눈치 보면서 들어가야 할 때 찾아 나머진 바빠 개설레임 바꾸는 사람들 시간만 지나